Whether Mulu Mabret come up on stage and say a few words.
እናስጥልኝ እንደምን ዋላችሁ እንኳን ደህና መጣችሁ። ከማንኛውም ቀን ኢትዮጵያ ኮሚኒቲ ውስጥ ከሚደረገው ሁሉ የዛሬው ቀን ነው ለሁላችንም ደስታን የሚሰጠን። ምክንያቱም ልጆቻችን ከሃይ ስኩል፣ ከኮሌጅ፣ ከዩኒቨርሲቲ የሚፈልጉትን አገባደው በዛሬው ቀን እኛ ቤተሰብ፣ ኮሚኒቲ፣ ጓደኞች፣ እናት አባት እንኳን ደስ ያላችሁ እንላለን እና አሁን እንግዲህ ለሁላችሁ እንኳን ደስ ያላችሁ አጨብጭቡላችሁ።
Okay, so next we are going to have a dance performance by the Ethiopian Youth Dance Group. They're going to be performing dances from Wallo and
My name is Ethio, and I feel very much honored to be here to speak on behalf of all the graduates. Like they said, I've spent most of my life in school and universities. And during these years, I was able to collect 2 bachelor degrees and a diploma. And I recently graduated from Maharishi University of Management with a Master's of Science degree in Computer Science. As education is an ongoing process, I'm planning to go back to school to further my education in the near future. We have so many graduates here today who graduated from different institutions in different fields of studies. And our achievements mean different to each and every one of us. Those of us who graduated from college or university, we are at the junction of more education and work life. Based on the priorities we have in life, we will choose either road. But if you are in a position to get more education versus work, I say go for education, go for it. For those of you who graduated from high school, this is the start of a long college life. This could mean being away from your parents, family, friends, and maybe for the first time. And you may be the first one from your family to go to college and so forth, Whatever the case, I have these words for you high school graduates. First, try to manage your time wisely. Most students find that their greatest challenge in adjusting to college life and to succeeding in the classroom is in managing their time effectively. When evaluating your schedules or how you spend your time, you need to consider your goals and priorities. Second one, try to stay focused on what you want and work hard to achieve it. When a parent talks to you, don't let the message go in one ear and go out the other. They always want what's best for you. And my last point, and it's going to be for all graduates and for everyone in the audience, please be involved with the Ethiopian community. Chances are someone will use your help. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. So congratulations for all the graduates today. My poetry that I wrote today is focused on all the women graduates that are here today. I just wanted to make sure that, I think being an Ethiopian woman, it has its privileges and it also has a lot of struggles of its own. So I just wanted to reach out to all the women that are in school or are graduating today and just kind of congratulate you for that. So I wrote this. When I looked out to the black sea of caps and gowns, searching for your lovely face, I found a woman swaying with that sweet June air. Your also Habesha modesty taking in the ceremony. The crowd screaming, your mom and dad glowing, friends beaming with pride, we stood just to get a glimpse of you. I smiled for weeks on end, replaying your walk, slow motion, small eyes, shiny, youthful face. You stopped for the cameras at the end of the stage and just like that, you became a college graduate. You leave me speechless like a movie star on the red carpet. You didn't just go to college, you fought upstream for the gates of that place. When you got to campus, you were overwhelmed, under-resourced, fighting to belong. You sat through classes feeling alone with your ideas and skin color. At times, you were the teacher, peacekeeper, rewriting your story for your classmates and professor. Under the graduation cap, I saw faces of your childhood, kindergarten years, your small tender face in middle school and petite body in high school. We should have known you would become this lovely woman, standing upright, facing the world with those brave eyes. You do have a soldier for a father, an Ethiopian queen for a mother, poets of relatives. You do reign from Ethiopia, where the farmers and stay-home moms are well-written and spoken. As far back as you trace your name, which would be the start of humanity, you find scholars. We named you Fitzum, Wibitu, Saba, Meron, Sophia, Senite, Winta. You were a somebody before the crown. Girl, show that oh so modest Habesha smile, because you make us all very proud. Thank you.
So So next we have Meron. She is a graduate from Ballard High School. She graduated with a 3.5 GPA. She is currently awaiting to go to school at Michigan State, I believe it is. She's got a full ride, which is great. Can we get Meron to come up to the stage, please?
Hi, my name is Meron Kasawun, and I'm a recent graduate of Ballard High School. The last 13 years of public school that I have endured have been filled with frustration, excitement, hard work, and rewarding experiences. My mother was born in Ethiopia, but spent a lot of her time in Sudan, and even a couple of years in Kuwait. But nowhere in the 28 years she spent back east was she given the opportunity to attend school. She's worked hard her whole life, and immigrating to Seattle with my brother, sister, and father did not end her suffering. After arriving, my father forced my mother to abort her pregnancy with me, and the day before the scheduled abortion, my mother refused, and my father abandoned her and my siblings, so she was forced to raise the three of us on her own. When high school came around, I began volunteering and working to keep myself busy. I started volunteering at Children's Hospital and 826 Seattle, a nonprofit organization for kids. In my second year at Ballard High School, I was accepted into a program called Summer Search. Summer Search is a program for altruistic, high-potential students who represent the qualities of a strong leader. Summer Search pairs each student with a mentor to call every week, and in the summer of their sophomore year, Summer Search students are sent to a wilderness camp anywhere in the U.S., and on the summer of their junior year, the students are sent to wherever they would like to go in the world, all for free. Later in my sophomore year, I decided that I wanted to do Running Start. From the beginning, my mother was against it, all for the wrong reasons. She thought that I wouldn't get my high school diploma because I would no longer be attending high school. As stubborn as my mother was, I did not let her take the opportunity away from me. I researched and read and had meetings with my counselor, and I knew that Running Start would be the right thing to do for me. My counselor was skeptical that I could do well. Although I had A's and B's in my last 2 years of high school, she doubted my intelligence to go very far outside of Ballard High School, and with that, she convinced my mother that I was not prepared for Running Start. My counselor knew nothing about me. I had only met her twice before, and my grades and records show that I was well prepared for college. Although my mother and counselor shot out the possibility of full-time Running Start, I took it upon myself to take a class after school and work instead, just to see how I would perform. My first quarter junior year, I got a 4.0 in my Spanish class. My second quarter, I got a 3.8. I showed my mother my grades, and even though it was like pulling teeth, I finally got her to agree that Running Start was right for me. And this year, I've been maintaining a full-time college load with a 3.0 GPA. Summer came, and my Summer Search plans were being made to send me to Colorado for 3 weeks. My mother was against this. She did not feel comfortable with the prospect that I would be living, sleeping, and eating with complete strangers for 3 weeks, in addition to having to do hard labor. I stuck with my guns and went. It was the hardest thing I ever did in my entire life. My body had never been challenged as it had been that summer. I dug, I dragged, I carried, I hauled, I lifted, I climbed, I cooked and cleaned. There was no kind of physical labor that I did not endure that summer. For my junior year, after I returned from Colorado, I became president of the Black Student Union. We were a small group of 4, and my school didn't think much of us, but for the last 2 years, we've spearheaded 2 Martin Luther King assemblies, 6 Black History Month assemblies, and a diversity fashion show. After my junior year, I went to Chile in South America for 7 weeks as a foreign exchange student. I was told the chances that I was going to be able to go were slim because of some complications with the program. I understood that there was a chance I wasn't going to be able to go, but I did not let it stop me from trying. In 2 days, I got a consulate to sign my visa papers and drive to Olympia to get the state to approve my paper so that I could mail it that day. It is a 2-week-long process, but I persisted and did what I needed to do. During my senior year, in October of 2011, I met Michelle Obama. My job, 826 Seattle, won a $10,000 award from the President's Committee on the Arts and Humanities. Terry Hine, the director of 826 Seattle, chose me as the student representative to go with her and receive the award. The experience was amazing as I was able to see Michelle Obama in person and hear her kind words of wisdom. She told me to keep working hard and continue writing because it is so important. I hugged and thanked her, and she congratulated the organization for their work. Despite the challenges and setbacks I have faced in my life, I never use them as excuses to not try my best. If you want to do something, do it. Never allow anyone or anything to tell you that you're worth anything less. If my mother had not made the choice she had to keep me, I would not be standing before you today as a recent graduate and college-bound student and recipient of a $50,000 scholarship to one of the country's best liberal arts all-girls colleges. This fall, I'm going to Bryn Mawr College in Philadelphia, and I will major in either civil engineering or computer science with a minor in Spanish. Thank you.
All right, so to move on with our program, we're going to have another performance by the Ethiopian Community Dance Group. They're going to be performing a student dance. One thing that's offered at the Ethiopian community is the Amanya class. There was a pilot program that lasted about 6 months long, and they taught different Amanya levels from beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And we have one of the intermediate students that has prepared.
እንደምናችሁ ጤና ይስጥልኝ። ዮሐንስ ብርብርጅ እባላለሁ። አንድ ነገር እድል ስለተሰጠኝ አመሰግናለሁ። ለምን አማርኛ መማር ፈለጉ? ለምን ኢትዮጵያን እወዳለሁ? በአሜሪካ ምግብ ልብስ እና ቤት ሞልቷል። ነገር ግን ጥሩ ባህል እና ሃይማኖት አላገኘሁም። ስለዚህ ጥሩ መንገድ ሆኖ Yeganyahu. Ethiopia Hymanot in Abahilno. Amaringe Kwankwa Lesidis Woroch Bezibe it Atenachalo. Ethiopia West Andikan Leminor Tesfalin. That's the best thing to learn about the Hedale. Is now in the Nigananya in the Nalo. Ahun ba Inglesinnya Kwankwa Inagralo. Many of our HARC students couldn't make it today, so I'm representing them and speaking on their behalf. There are 10 students right now, all of different ethnicities, Caucasian, Ethiopian, African American, and we all feel it's a blessing and a privilege to have this community center to service the Ethiopians and everyone who pursues Ethiopia. I feel like a wild branch that's being grafted to the olive tree, and I pray God allows all of us to be fruitful and produce good fruits together.
Make sure we give them a good round of applause. That's a lot. All right, so next up on our program, we have our keynote speaker, Dr. Amun Abdu. Dr. Amun Abdu was born in Addis Ababa and moved to the United States after completing high school at Sanford International School. Early on, she knew that she was interested in medicine, and she earned her Bachelor of Science degree at the age of 19 from the University of Washington in laboratory medicine. Upon completing her education at the University of Washington, she then went on to do a one-year research fellowship at the Fred Cancer Research Center, where she realized she wanted to pursue medicine. And so the following year, she continued her education with a full scholarship at the University of Michigan Medical School.
That's where she became fascinated with the brain, and then decided to enter into the field of neurosurgery, which excited her the most. Dr. Mu.
That was a tough act to follow because this is going to be in English, unfortunately. I'd like to start by obviously congratulating the graduating class of 2012. And thank you to the Seattle Ethiopian Community for organizing this special event and bringing all of us together. And let's also give a round of applause to our parents, siblings, and spouses that helped the graduates go through school. So my name is Amun Abdu. I've been given this opportunity to address the new graduates, for which I'm truly honored. My story isn't any different than most of the people in this room, at least initially. Allow me to provide a brief snapshot of my life. I came to the U.S. in summer of 1995. I picked Seattle, or I shall say my parents picked it for me, due to the strong family ties we have here. Education was never an option to my generation. I started school at age of 3 and graduated high school at age 15. Not because I was a genius, but because we're all started that young in my family. Fortunately for me, I skipped 3rd grade, and since I went to Sanford, we followed the British curriculum and completed high school at age 11. This jump-started my college career at age 16. A week after my arrival to the States, I enrolled at Green River Community College, again not by choice. I transferred to University of Washington and graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Laboratory Medicine, as you just heard. I wanted to gain some real life experiences, so I worked at Fred Hutch at Children's Hospital, and shortly thereafter I attended medical school in 2000. I was one of the youngest students in med school and definitely the youngest in residency at OHSU in Portland. I started my residency in 2004 and finished a 7-year program a year ago. Like that wasn't enough, I added additional training in interventional neuroradiology here at Swedish to narrow my field even further. Some might view this as a paradox, to undergo years of rigorous schooling and training to only be basically able to treat a handful of diseases. I'm at the end. Now, that was my choice. Not too bad for a female immigrant from Africa to finish neurosurgical training at age 33. But those close to me who have been with me every step of the way have witnessed the resiliency, tears, hard work, and yes, even doubt that had plagued my journey. A journey that, in addition to coping with high levels of stress, required a tough exterior. But it could be done, and if I did it, all of you can, believe me. I'm going to tell you a little secret formula that I used for my success. Focus, determination, vision, always aim high, and have pride in your work. Now I will dissect each phase of my life and show you how I use this formula starting with high school. Some people, including my husband, get intimidated when they hear the word neurosurgeon, which is why I proposed to him, by the way. And automatically assume the person is gifted and intelligent. And after reading the flyers here and listening to my speech thus far, some of you might think the same. Well, not quite. In high school, I was far from that. I never really fit in Sanford, and was only there because I had no choice. I barely made any effort. I flunked the classes that I had no inherent talent in and settled for a passing grade for those that came easily, such as science and mathematics. I typically settled for C's and D's. One time I got a grade that my dad had never seen before, and we both didn't know what it meant, and together we were learning new alphabets as it pertained to my academic achievements, which in hindsight was no laughing matter to my parents. So to make long story short, I lacked the drive and focus in high school, which reflected in my grades, and to my parents' surprise, I graduated in 1994. I was lucky to have been born in a family where natural next step was college in the U.S. Right after graduating high school, I will never forget the concern my father shared with my Aunt Nuria before I arrived to Seattle. He simply said, "Emon is young and gullible. Just make sure she does not drop out of high school." So those words were the most powerful words for me and affected my life profoundly, and this very drive for success. I didn't realize how much I had disappointed my parents in high school, and I wanted to make them proud, and in doing so, prove them wrong. My Aunt Nuria, who sits right here, was here a while ago, made it easy for me by providing guidance from the beginning. She enrolled me in college even before I had a chance to see the skyscrapers in downtown Seattle, and do the touristy things. I was thirsty for success, although back then I didn't realize it was going to take almost 2 decades to quench this thirst. The transition into community college went very smoothly. With this new perspective and approach I was able to maintain straight A's and even tutored full time. It was at this time that I discovered I had photographic memory, which proved to be extremely useful for my future in neurosurgery. So my first advice to you is focus. As young adults, there are way too many distractions, be it from entertainment, friends, nightlife, college, and it's easy to get derailed and even get lost like I was in high school. My grandfather always offered some sage advice and used to say, "There's time for everything." And as a teenager or college student, it does not make any sense for you to have expensive shoes, drive expensive cars, or secure nice jobs. Your goal is one thing and one thing only: focus. Focus on your studies. I would take that even further and say to you, you have to focus on what you study. You may not you may not know what you're good at, and it may not come to you until later in life, but you have to get an undergraduate degree. So pick something, give it your honest effort, and excel. Now, some of you may have to work or send yourself to school to help your family, or help your family back home. Guess what? I work anywhere from 20 to 40 hours per week while maintaining a full credit and 3.8 grade point average. And it wasn't because I was gifted, but because I was focused. So my story continues. I transferred to University of Washington from community college and selected laboratory medicine as my major. The confidence I built in community college was quickly shattered when I made a mistake of underestimating some of the classes. I said, well, how hard could this university deal be? And enrolled in much higher level classes as opposed to spreading out my class load, one of which was biochemistry. The very first indication came to me when I realized the intimidating class and diversity of classes. I was automatically taken out of my comfort zone of 20 to 30 students per class that I grew accustomed to at a community college. Our professor said the first day that we'd be taking 3 exams in the quarter and that he would take the best 2 out of 3 for our final grade. The first month was horrible. It was going too fast and I was too shy to ask questions among 400 students. I scored 42% on my very first exam. Needless to say, I was humbled and disappointed in myself. Still to this day, I'll never forget that morning. I was so ashamed. I cried for hours. But then I wiped my tears, dusted myself off, and made a promise to myself that history will never repeat itself again. Immediately I changed my strategy and started to study the material for upcoming classes and future tests that were weeks away. Then came the next exam. I had studied so hard I completed taking the exam even halfway through the allotted time. That's how much I knew the material. That's how much I studied. Over the next few days, I couldn't bear the anticipation as I anxiously waited for the results. Our results were posted outside the department under a student ID number with a high score on top. I started looking in the top half and couldn't find my ID, so I kept looking up and up and up. And there was my ID at the top of class at 100%. The next score was 94%, and the class average was 56%. Mind you, this was 1997, and I remember this day like it was yesterday. In my eyes, this was truly the beginning of my career in medicine. Prior to this, all I knew was that I did well in science, but I lacked vision. Having a vision clarified a lot of things and gave me a goal to attain. Success comes in many forms, and for me, at that particular moment, when I saw my name at the top of the class was validation. Validation that all the hard work and sacrifice paid off. What surprised me was that this was addictive. I didn't want it to end, so it felt so gratifying, and I realized I was essentially investing in my life and my future. This ever-evolving journey and drive eventually led me to apply to medical school. At that time, it was the late 90s when HIV and AIDS was rampant in Ethiopia. It was only natural for me to go to medicine and be an HIV doctor, and maybe even find a cure. Why not? After all, I had the highest grade in biochemistry. That's how naive I was. You see, my fellow grads, this is the degree of dedication and belief in yourself that is a mandatory component in pushing and succeeding in America. So, class of 2012, the next formula to my success has been always aim high. Never settle for mediocrity. Why would you be okay with just being average when you can do whatever? Why would you be okay with just being average in whatever you do in life? If you aim 100% all the time without failure, then more often than not, you will meet your goal, and you'll meet your goal or come real close to it. Never tell yourself you can't, or never let anybody tell you you can't, but more importantly, never tell yourself that you can't. Get rid of that self-doubt. Instead, challenge yourself. In fact, having a degree of naivety like I did was beneficial because it masked obvious challenges which might have otherwise discouraged me before even trying. Furthermore, do not be complacent when you meet your goals. Complacency will stunt personal and professional growth and stop you from aiming even higher. My next proud moment revealed itself when I got accepted to all the medical schools I applied to. The proudest of all was, of course, University of Washington, which was one of the hardest schools to get to at the time. But I decided I needed to get away from my comfort zone. If I stayed here in Seattle, I would not be as dynamic and would lose the opportunity to mature and to explore, so I decided to go to University of Michigan. There are way too many personal and academic stories and lessons I can share with you, but the most important thing, and what most of you are probably questioning right now, is why neurosurgery? A field that is extremely fast-paced, unforgiving, male-dominated, really male-dominated. Over 90% of practicing neurosurgeons in the U.S. are men. In med school, I was quite the rebel. I basically had no life in undergrad, and being in a completely different society, I got introduced to this student life in a city that revolves around the university. I also met two very special people in my life, and for the first time since coming to America, I made real friends. My focus started to slightly tilt towards socializing, as taking exams had become so mundane that I would study to the last minute, and yet I maintained high grades, which I give credit to my photographic memory because I wasn't putting in the hours at that time. Inevitably, we caught the attention of the dean of the medical school at University of Michigan, who did not appreciate our rebellious ways. I'm not suggesting that you do that, but I wanted to share my true story so you can learn from it. One time, my friend and I got called in the dean's office, and her words were, quote, "You are only here because you're on full scholarship," and ended that meeting by asserting that we will not be successful doctors. So guess what I did? What I do best. I tightened my belt, studied super hard, and I ranked among the top students in the first medical school boards. In a calculated and bold move, I chose the hard track for my clinical rotations, and by serendipity, one of my first rotations was neurosurgery. I fell in love with it. It was fun, intellectually stimulating, and hard to get in. Just the perfect combination to complement my personality. I got in a great residency close to home in Portland and solidified my love for the field. The life lesson I learned from medical school is have a vision and stick with it. The next chapter of my life was extremely different from what I grew accustomed to. My academic years were full of one success after another. The approach thus far was to study hard and do well in tests. Residency was far from that. It was at times the most brutal years of my life. For the first time in my life, I felt lonely. I was the youngest resident, the only female, and from a completely different background. But worst of all, it was just physically and emotionally demanding. At times, I really think I was too young to appreciate the meaning of being a surgeon. Once the novelty wore off, I had to come to terms with the fact that people could die or have complications from my actions. That alone was too much to bear for a 25-year-old. What made it hard was not the time or the degree of intellect required, but my environment. Neurosurgery is typically an elite field, very cutthroat. When you fall, most don't help you rise. You pick yourself up. If you have a single bad outcome, it gets used against you indefinitely. Good deeds do not always get praised. When you do a good job, you have to be your own advocate and cheer yourself. I missed my beloved niece's birth, who's here today. I missed many holidays, weddings, funerals. This was the darkest period of my education, but I would not trade it for anything else. I'm a better person because of it. It has humbled me, it has made me stronger, it has made me a better neurosurgeon. My happiest moments, besides, of course, being with my husband, is the time I spend in the OR. I love operating. I enjoy taking care of patients, new, old, and those that have suffered even from my own complications. I love it. Every day I feel privileged to do what I do, and I can't even believe I get paid to do what I do. I hate politics in the field, I'll tell you that. It's very difficult. It's extremely difficult being a female, especially a black female, in my field, but I love my job. So my story may sound like a success, but by no means did it happen by chance or by accident. I worked for every moment of my success, and I still continue to do so. But most importantly, I was blessed. I'm a strong believer of God. Nothing happens without the will of God, and religion and family kept me grounded. Religion and family protects me and keeps my ego in check, as well as remind me of who I am and where I come from, an Ethiopian immigrant. So if I have to leave you with something, remember this. We're the high school graduates. Okay. Focus. Let go of all the fancy things you can own. Just focus. There's time for that, and it will come, I promise you. Focus in the field and stick to it, and give it 100% all the time without fail. Erase the word can't from your vocabulary. And to my graduates and undergraduates, have a vision. Take pride in what you do. And it could start from a side job that you may have while attending school. For example, if you happen to be working for Starbucks and be the barista, you want to be the best barista that you can be. After all, you're charging us triple of what it should cost. And if you don't like your field and are in a position to go back to school, go for it and do what you love. It took me 17 years, I'll repeat that, 17 years to get here, but I can honestly say I absolutely love my job. Thank you.
መጪውን የኢትዮጵያ ሚሌኒየም ልክ እንደ አብሮ መብላት መጠጣታችን ለለውጥ ተጋግዘን በመስራት የሀገራችንን እድገት የምናይበት ጅምር እንዲሆን የእግዚአብሔር ቅዱስ ፈቃዱ ይሁን እላለሁ። መልካም በዓል፣ መልካም ጊዜ።
የይቅርታው ጊዜ እንዲሆን አሁን ይጠበቃል ከኛ ላላፍን የቅዱስ መንፈስ ማደሪያው ቢያደርግ ዛሬን እናንስበት በተሰብስበት
ይሰማል ውስጤን ዘንብሎ የጨለመው ሌሊት ሲነጋ ያን ጊዜ የቱ ጋ ናት ብለው አጠያይቀው ይመጣሉ ኢትዮጵያ ዓለም ሁሉ ይልሻል ያኔ አሳች ልጅ ናት ፈጣሪ የሁለት ሺህ ዓመታት ምሕረቱን ተቀብለሽ በፍቅር ስትኖሪ የቅዱስ መንፈስ ማደሪያ ክብሩ መኖሪያው እንዲያደርገን ዛሬ ባይሞላም ስለ ነገሩ እንደምን ተሰባስበን
ተሰብሰብ ተሰብሰብ ተሰብሰብ
በሀገሬን ምድር ላይ እንዲሆን ዓለም
ተሰብሰብ ተሰብሰብ ተሰብሰብ
ካለክበት ሀገር ሩቅ ሳትል ቅርብ ነው።
ተሰብሰብ ተሰብሰብ ተሰብሰብ
በሀገሬን ምድር ላይ እንዲሆን ዓለም
ተሰብሰብ ተሰብሰብ ተሰብሰብ
የአንድ እናት ልጆች ነን እንተሳሰብ። እንዳብረው መብላትን ተጋግዞ መስራትን ብንታደል እኛ መች ይመጣ ነበር አዛኝ መስመሩ ሰው ብሎን ረሃብተኛ ለኢትዮጵያ ይቅረብ ከድህነት መሰነባበቻ እንዳንድ ሆኖ ገኔ ለውጥ በቁጥር ብቻ ካለው ላይ ቀንሶ ካልሰጠን ሌለው አቅም ያለው ወገኔ ጎኑን አደላሎ ከንፈር ቢመጥላት ላይ ጠቅማት ሀገሬ ቀንጥሎ ወድቆ የተራበ ባዶ አንጀት ፊተኛ ዝማት በወገኔ ዋናለው
ተሰብሰብ ተሰብሰብ ተሰብሰብ
በሀገሬ ምድር ላይ እንዲሆን ዓለም
ተሰብሰብ ተሰብሰብ ተሰብሰብ
ካለህበት ሀገር ሩቅ ሳትል ቅርብ ነው።
ተሰብሰብ ተሰብሰብ ተሰብሰብ
በሀገሬ ምድር ላይ እንዲሆን ዓለም
ተሰብሰብ ተሰብሰብ ተሰብሰብ
የአንድ እናት ልጆች ነን እንተሳሰብ። ያዛዥ ልጅ ናት ለፈጣሪ የሁለት ሺህ ዓመታት ምሕረቱን ተቀብለሽ በፍቅር ስትኖሪ የቅዱስ መንፈስ ማደሪያ ክብሩ መኖሪያው እንዲያደርገን ዛሬ ባይሞላም ስለነገው እንደምን ተሰባስበን ወገኖች ተሰብሰቡ 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 በሀገሬ ምድር ላይ እንዲሆን ዓለም ተሰብሰቡ 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 ካለክበት ሀገር ሩቅ ሳትር ቅርብ ነው ተሰብሰቡ 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 በሀገሬ ምድር ላይ እንዲሆን ዓለም ተሰብሰቡ 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 የአንድ እናት ልጆች ነን ተሰብሰቡ ቃልን ታሻትፍሪ በዘር በሃይማኖት አንድ አድርጎ እንዳኖረን ስናገር መስክሪ